Sunday night, it's AFN Sports Talk Live here with the Alternative Football News Network. I'm Michael Washington Weeks, your host as always. RJ, not so athletic, we found out off air. Ciancio is with us. He did play center, though. I found out in flag football when he was like 9. That's interesting because he still is 9. So that's where we're at there. Mark Ox is joining us. No video today for him, though. He's on voice call. Mark, can you hear us? You good? Connection's fine.
Connection's great.
And today we got Reed Seitz, former first-round pick of the CFL. He's back. We had him, probably, I don't even know. How long ago was it? 6-7 months ago now?
I think it was in November sometime, guys.
November? So it's been almost a year.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's almost a year now, yeah.
Yeah, he's back with us, joining us. We're going to talk a little bit of CFL news because CFL announced this week, or at least on Monday, that the 2020 season is canceled. Now, there's some speculation surrounding this as to why the season was canceled. Some things were, there was a report that they got the financial aid from or loan from the government to help them with the 2020 season. Then there was nothing. There was no confirmation. We didn't see anything. Now, we know that Canada usually is very tight-lipped about a lot of their contracts, their money figures, stuff like that. Reed, what's the overall consensus up there in Canada surrounding the CFL's 2020 season? Like, what happened there between the government and the league?
Well, basically, the CFL had asked for a loan for about, I think it was about $30 million with no revenue, income tax, and the government turned them down, so they ended up having to cancel their season.
Okay, so it wasn't an agreed upon of any sort, and the government just kind of said, no.
Yeah, well, the CFL tried to get a $30 million loan from the government of Canada, and the government of Canada just kind of turned them down. There was supposed to be no tax or anything on the revenue, and so that's basically why they had to cancel the season, which is too bad because I was looking forward to looking at a lot of young talent that was picked up in the CFL. Like there was a guy on the UBC, Travell Pinto. That I think does some really good things. He's a 4-4 receiver from UBC, and I think he looked good.
Yeah. It's sad to see when these leagues, when we saw the IFL, the Indoor Football League down here, and the NAL, and the XFL, and all those leagues cancel, it was tough because a lot of people went out of jobs. All the FLs, all those football leagues, they all went out of business. A lot of people lost their jobs, and players were scrambling to find something. And the CFL kind of had a little bit of an advantage because they start their season so much later. But for some reason, they never got off the ground. I know it's CFL related, it's COVID related, but they never got off the ground, and then they didn't get the help from the government. Now there's speculation all over the place. First, Randy Ambrosie. What are your thoughts on him? Let's start there at the commissioner stats because I see a lot of hate surrounding him in certain areas.
Well, I think Randy Ambrosie is doing a pretty good job. He's keeping everybody updated on financial situations with the Canadian Football League, and there's not too much really to go on. When your financial stability shut right down, right? There's no fans, and they were talking about no fans in the stadium, and then they were talking about hub city leagues and stuff like that, and they just kind of shut it down because they wanted the $30 million loan, right?
Yeah, I feel like that the CFL probably could have benefited from trying to do a bubble concept once the NBA, the WNBA, the XFL technically was really the first ones that did it without even realizing that they did it. I feel like they could have been beneficial for a league like the CFL. You have 9 teams, sorry. And you had a chance to really put something together, play on one field and make something happen.
You did, but at the same time, it's a gate-driven league. How much money would you be losing from the ticket sales, and would it be worth it is the question.
I'm not too sure. With the Canadian Football League, I know they were going to have a game out here July 25th, I think it was. They're going to have a team out here, I think it's Toronto and somebody else, at the St. Mary's University field. And, with the COVID, it just got shut right down, right? It's too bad because, that could have been a great experience for fans and the CFL to see a game because they are talking about building a 10-team league and bringing in the Atlantic Schooners, and that's going to be postponed probably for another 2 years now. So, it's tough with the COVID, right? So.
The biggest thing with the CFL is Ambrosie's been trying to do a real good job of expanding out internationally and trying to get involved partnerships with other leagues, bring in players.
I've liked that move a lot.
Absolutely, it's been fantastic. You brought up a point about the gate-driven league, RJ, but with the CFL starting as late as they do, I feel like that they could have done like a 20-25% capacity, man, without it really being, with just to salvage something. If you're inside a bubble, a lot of those expenses aren't there. So I feel like they could have done something maybe like that, 20-25%.
Maybe. I mean, also, we got to remember that Canada is taking COVID way more seriously than America is.
This is true, too.
Yeah. So the environment in America is like, well, heck, if you don't want to wear a mask, risk your life going to a football game, be our guest. Canada might be, okay, let's calm down here.
Yeah, no, for sure. My next concern here, Reed, and I'll go back to you with you being up in Canada, is the CFL was already financially in a lot of reports, dire straits, been operating in the red for several years, maybe 10 plus. Ambrosie took over a mess from the previous, commissioner and previous regimen that was there.
I think that was Mark Cohen who was the commissioner before Randy Ambrosie. Yeah.
What does this mean with the 2020 season canceled? Is this something the CFL can bounce back from and actually be a league that's still in existence? I mean, they've been around for a long time, but there was some there's some grumblings.
Yeah, the CFL will be there. The CFL will be there all the it's publicly funded not only through the government but through ticket revenue sales and there's a market base for the CFL. Like I know growing up in Alberta, going to Edmonton Expo games. I mean, Edmonton Expos would get 35,000 a game. And, I think the CFL will never fold, but it just needs the opportunity to get back out there into the marketplace again. But with the COVID, I mean, that's what shut it right down, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we all know that the COVID was a huge issue with this, and we know that it wasn't, money problems or anything along. Well, I mean, they had money issues, but it wasn't money that was the reason why that they shut down. I guess I'm just a little bit concerned with when you lose that kind of money, shutting down a whole season, especially a gate-driven league. Yeah. If you're already in trouble, I would like to hope that the CFL doesn't fold. I love the football up there, and it's real football for you people who don't think it is, and it's real football. I'm a little bit concerned, though. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, and also, players are now able to opt out of their contracts. If you have your big players either get signed by NFL teams or XFL teams, there goes marketable faces, which is another aspect of this. And if you lose marketable faces, then it really just comes down to history. And, that's usually the old guard history, and that's not quite the young, the young fans who know all the history yet. Unless you mean spend 20 hours a day just going through football lore.
Well, that was my next point too, Reed, is that, we've seen Reggie Bagleton or Reginald Bagleton, however he likes to be called. He's down there in Green Bay right now. William Steinbach.
Was that the receiver from Calgary?
Yeah, he was the receiver from Calgary. He's down in Green Bay right now. Yeah. William Steinbach was with the Las Vegas Raiders. He just got cut today, but there's speculation. Okay. There's speculation that he'll end up getting signed somewhere. I mean, these guys are both in their mid-20s, right in their prime. Fantastic players up in the CFL. With the XFL coming back, because we know it's going to come back now that the ownership's been there, there's a lot of top talent that they're going to be looking at. And with the CFL not having players under contract, there's guys like, for me, when I think about quarterbacks, I think about Nick Arbuckle. I think about Bo Levi Mitchell. Yeah. I think about Mike Riley. The XFL could take a serious look at these guys and kind of put a huge, huge dent in the CFL for 2021 as far as star power is concerned. If they pick up some of these players, so that's not concerning, you don't think, for a future CFL if they were to come back with these contracts voided right now?
Well, I think the CFL will be there. It's just, with the COVID, it just shut everything right down because Canada is kind of saying, okay, well, we've got these players here. We've got to bring them in for this amount of money. And if they want to explore the other opportunities, then, they're all for it because the season is shut down. So, you can't really do too much about that, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking it from big picture moving forward. Mark, we haven't heard from you yet, so I just want to get your opinion on this. You and I have talked about this a little bit as far as the the whole idea of moving forward with the CFL and how much harder it's going to be, especially with the XFL basically starting from scratch, and the CFL now having really no players under contract, is this going to spell, I guess, a dismal future for the CFL for a 2021 season moving forward?
Well, it looks like all players are still under their normal contract at the moment, but players can elect to opt out. Yeah, they have a week starting tomorrow, which you could have started earlier because there was a linebacker from Calgary who already asked for his release and received it and signed with the Dolphins. But
okay.
So this actually gives a little bit of a window, it seems like, into Canadian contracts where it only talks about two scenarios. If your contract was expiring in 2021 or if your contract was expiring in 2022 and beyond, which means they must not sign very long contracts when they don't really have stipulations for anything outside of 2 years. It does say beyond, but I don't know that they really go that far. So they do shorter contracts. But, they're given the 7-week window where if they want to ask for the release, they will get the release, but they will not be able to be eligible for the money from the government that was secured for players to get paid from, I think it was July 2020 of this year till December. And they'll get a paycheck and everything. So everybody still is under contract.
Okay, so they're doing this smart then. They're giving a window instead of just voiding all the contracts.
Yep.
So that actually
a chance.
That actually counters the other report that I read. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I just read voided contracts and also this is good because it's like for the big start. It was for like your big players, your Bo Levi Mitchells, your Nick Arbuckles, your Jeremiah Masoli's. If they want to go explore options, and they don't necessarily have to worry about the paycheck coming in every week as much as so many of your role players do, in second stringers and guys who are just like maybe special teamers, they can have the financial security that you need and maybe stay and develop more in the CFL where big stars can, try to make a move.
Well, again, though, all players, as long as they stay under contract, will get the full government wage subsidy for 5-6 months worth of time. They'll keep the medical coverage. So this was all gotten by the actual CFL Players Association from the government, not from the CFL. Actually, the Players Association was able to get this grant, pretty much is what it seems to be for the players. So it seems like the Players Association must have a better
standing with the government than
the actual CFL. So that doesn't show out very well, but it does. All of this makes it seem like there will be a season next year. I don't think they would be going to these lengths if they were really worried that there wouldn't be a season next year.
Good. So that's good. Yeah. That was a report I saw, Mark. Thank you for that, by the way. I hadn't read any of that, so.
We could thank So this article came from 3 Down Nation. Yeah, Justin Dunk was the author.
3 Down Nation is fantastic.
It really is.
They have a lot of good information for the CFL.
Yeah, 3downnation.com, people. Reed, switching gears a little bit here. The last time we had you on, we discussed your story. You talked about how you wanted to make a comeback. You've been doing route trees, working out, trying to get yourself back into the CFL. We had a discussion off air earlier this week where you're kind of thinking about possibly doing something a little bit different. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know, just give us a little bit of an update of your life and where you want to move forward with here.
Basically, I'm just trying to get out there and explore as much opportunities I can get with football. Like to me, I feel I can still play this game. I think I can play the wide out or the wide position. Route tree wise, I think speed cut, seam, crosser, ins and outs. I just got to recognize the coverage and ability to go out there and play. And I think I still can.
Yeah. If being a player isn't on the table for you, what else are you looking at possibly doing, exploring here?
I'm looking to coach or scout. I've submitted a player profile, cover letter, and resume, and just waiting to hear back from people and teams. just taking it one day at a time. Like working out. I work out at home here right now. I don't go to the gym because of what's going on right now with this crisis that's going on with COVID-19, and I'm just working out, trying to stay in shape. Go to the track 3 times a week. Just getting ready to play. That's what I love to do, right? I love to play. I love to run.
Yeah, for sure, Reed. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, Reed, we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna go indoor and arena game, but I wanted to give you one last opportunity here just to say something for anything. Plug yourself if you want to. I'm okay with that. And we're gonna move on to the indoor and arena leagues. But thank you for being on, Reed. I really appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem, guys. Not a problem.
All right, RJ.
Yep.
Switching gears here to the indoor and arena league news. A lot of news this week. Very busy week.
Ooh, you're telling me.
Huge busy week. Let's start with the NAL. Mainly because of the fact that I think it kind of surprised a lot of people more than anything because it was just announced. But the Baltimore Lightning, great name by the way, decided to. It's terrible for the area.
Do I sense a hint of sarcasm there, sir?
All sarcasm, always. The Baltimore Lightning has announced that they will not proceed forward with the National Arena League application and the not play in the league for 2020.
The NAL said they're not playing for their failure to provide a letter of credit within the timeline of their membership agreement, and then they also failed to provide an executed arena lease. And then the owner of HMG Sports Marketing, William J. Hanna, put up a post and took it down. I'm going to read it verbatim. "We are out of the NAL. I never let crackers dictate to me. Now back to your regular scheduled programming."
That's not even good, like, especially considering the fact that he moved the team out of Baltimore to San Antonio, hopefully to get involved with the IFL, and you're sitting here seeing something like that. It doesn't give you an opportunity and chance to. I mean, there's no way the IFL can look at this ownership group and go, "Hey, we want you to play for us now." When you post something like that went viral very fast.
Yeah,
very fast as far as the indoor and arena world is concerned. So the Baltimore Lightning, I mean, apparently ceased to exist. Mark, we've discussed Baltimore being an area, and it's kind of a volatile area when it comes to a lot of things. The Baltimore Brigade didn't really have a lot of attendance when they were with the AFL. Solid team. Attendance issues. Is Baltimore really a good choice for the NAL in your opinion?
The area, I believe, would be, yes. I don't know about if being actually in Baltimore, maybe they'd be better to, maybe find something more on the outskirts, away from being the inner city. Maybe if they'd have a better drawing, because I know they didn't draw very well for the AFL when they were the Brigade, right? Yeah, that's what they bought, the Brigade name from the AFL, right? So,
well, go ahead, Mark. I'm going to touch base on that, but go ahead.
So, I mean, I don't know if it was the area, it was just whatever it was, so maybe they should look for maybe a different arena to play in, something along those lines. But I just think Baltimore has a rich sports history in general that, I think anything with a league would be better to be there and get the most out of it.
I agree.
Let me ask you, RJ, I'm not really... if Bryce was here, Bryce would be able to at least give us something on this. But Mark said he bought the Brigade. They bought the Brigade copyright.
Say that 5 times.
Bought
fast.
the Brigade. Bought the Brigade copyright. But we then got a report that the ownership group of Albany, the other expansion team in the NAL, bought the properties and rights to the Washington Valor, the Atlantic City Blackjacks, and the Baltimore Brigade. So what was the sale for to move them to San Antonio? What was that about?
It may have just been the physical assets that were bought.
Instead of the other property portions of it, like the business side of it?
Maybe they sold it quickly off to the group that's running Albany. I'm not quite sure. I know that during the auction the AFL held after it dissolved, the IPs and the field equipment were sold separately.
Okay, maybe that's what happened then. Maybe that's the reason why we're seeing it like this, and that's maybe why they moved him to San Antonio.
They kept the name though, so
well, they can keep the brigade as long as it's not in Baltimore, because the title, the copyright is Baltimore Brigade, not San Antonio Brigade.
Oh, okay.
It's why you can have multiple teams with multiple names. Like you can have the Tigers in Detroit, and you can have the Tigers in Miami if you wanted to. I mean, I don't know why either of those make sense, but
or the Wildcats in every state.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Moving on, Harry. So I think that might be the reason why they ended up moving all that stuff from Baltimore to San Antonio and keeping that name, and then deciding to do a separate team in Baltimore, which was haphazardly named the Lightning. What does this mean though for that Albany group? Is that possibility? You know, you lose one team, so you're down to 9. You buy 3 to make it 12. Is that? I mean, what's the possibility of us seeing these resurrected, or having at least one more team from this ownership group in Albany resurrecting one of the old AFL teams?
Oh, I definitely think you're going to see one of the old AFL teams come back. I think it's just a question of which one. The two that I would vouch for are Atlantic City and Washington. I think Atlantic City had like an up and coming fan base.
Absolutely.
Like prior to the AFL sales, there was a GoFundMe campaign started by the Blackjacks fans to buy all the assets to bring them back.
I mean,
I think
they'd be better off to not go all in and try and bring all of them at one time.
Well, no, not at one time. No, I don't think at one time. I was just going based upon what's the likelihood that we might see all 3 come back at some point.
But I don't think this one ownership group should try and bring all 3 in at one time and overdo it on themselves.
Yeah. Not at all.
I believe that's the issue we're seeing somewhere else, which we'll talk about later.
But I personally, I would like to see the Valor. I mean, me being a DC guy, you know, I'd like to see.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a bit of a bias there.
But I like Atlantic City.
They did well in the AFL though. The Valor did do well in the AFL.
Oh, absolutely.
Champions. Champions.
I don't mean that. I meant with their actual like.
They were champions. They were 2 years.
Right.
Year before the last year, they were champion. Don't give it.
They had only 2 wins in the regular season. All 4 teams made the playoffs.
Hey, whatever. They still won when it counted. That's all that matters.
They did. Yeah. We're talking about playoffs, not
playoffs. Playoffs.
We're talking about playoffs.
We're not talking about practice, RJ. That regular season shit doesn't count.
That was just practice that year.
Yeah, piss off.
We're talking about practice.
But they actually drew a crowd pretty well too.
They did draw a pretty good crowd. I'm surprised there really isn't a team in DC already. I mean, I thought the Valor was, pretty decent as far as the AFL is concerned. I'm surprised the NAL hasn't looked there.
Maybe they have, again, like the thing with the, arena dates and stuff is that the Valor are owned by the same group that owned the Washington Wizards, the Washington Capitals, the Capital City Go-Go, and the Washington Mystics. So they can really...
2 out of 3 of those names are former champions. So that's 3 out of 4 that they had championships with.
Will you be quiet about your Washington championships?
Hey, I'm just going to put this out here that the Mystics and the Capitals and the Valor all have won more championships than the Pittsburgh Steelers in recent years. So,
what do you define as recent years? That's really vague.
They've won the championship more recently than the Steelers have. I can't give you shit about anything else, though, because you're in Connecticut. They don't have anything, so I can't give you shit.
Yeah, we really don't.
Yeah. We won't even talk about the Browns, so.
Anyhow, I have a question. With the downsizing that's going on inside the indoor and arena leagues, is this going to be beneficial for them? Will it make them... I mean, I understand that a bigger league is more impressive to certain fans, but could this be an adjustment of the fact that, maybe, slow down the growth and let this mature before you start growing?
Well, it's funny you use downsize to me there because...
Yeah, I think they're doing the opposite.
They're growing. I mean, we're seeing some struggles with some other things, and like Mark said, we'll discuss one of the other ownership groups over there in the IFL here in a little bit. But for the most part, these leagues are growing. The NAL is trying to get bigger. The IFL is announced a huge plan, which we'll touch base on again a little bit. That's going to stretch from West Coast to East Coast. I mean, the IFL's been around for what, 10 plus years, RJ?
Yeah, they were founded in 2009 through the merger of the Intense Football League and United Indoor Football.
Weren't they kind of brought around because of the original AFL shutting down?
That's how they first got their big foothold. Yeah. But and then they everybody in the Midwest, and that's where they've had their footprint for the longest time, knew about the IFL. And when the AFL started contracting, it started moving over east, so it was just kind of like East Coast, West Coast.
No,
and the NAL was expanding too. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, that's one thing I want to discuss with the NAL is, based on now his comments were horrible there for the Lightning, but one thing he said is we won't do it on their timeline. So does the NAL set up a timeline for their owners, new owners, whatever, to have everything in by? And do they maybe do it too quickly? Is that why we see some of these places not get owners? Like we say, oh, why isn't there have an owner? Why doesn't there have an owner?
The NAL down payment from last time I checked was around $100,000, which is exponentially more than the Indoor Football League. So it's a much larger line of credit,
league, right? I mean, they're not the Premier League like the IFL. I would say the IFL is more the Premier League. They should be the one probably charging more.
They should be, but I think the NAL is charging more because they expect a 3-year agreement, where I think the IFL is a year-to-year base. Am I correct about that?
Mass signed a 3-year deal with the IFL.
No, they signed a 3-year lease with the DCU Center.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I think it's a year-to-year base for the IFL, but I think the IFL, for the most part, I got to say, when it comes to the IFL, and even really the NAL, to be honest with you, I mean, outside of a few hiccups there a few years ago with that awful team that was down by RJ, and what happened with Orlando at the end of the year and that same year, I think for the most part, both leagues are run fairly good. I think they're both run pretty darn well.
But is the NAL asking for too much right off the bat?
I think that might be the reason why we're seeing slower expansion for them. Compared,
yeah.
I mean, I say that, and they have Jersey and West Virginia and Albany and
Tampa and
Louisville coming in, but I'm surprised they haven't reached out to Nashville now that Baltimore is down.
It's again,
unless it's an IFL deal like the Massachusetts Pirates just got.
No, I think what's going on, and there's a lot of discussion in the forums about this, and the owners are very active. And they're just saying there's not an ownership group in Nashville right now. So it comes down. So I'm interested in Nashville. Same with Maine. Rob Storm, very active. Partial owner with Carolina Cobras. He answers a lot of questions. So if you got any questions, go to him. He's definitely always willing to give some help there. I think it just comes down to ownership groups. They're not going to force teams when they don't need to. And that's a good move.
That's smart. It's smart. Well, let's switch here, because we touched base on the stuff that the NAL involved. We moved on to Massachusetts signing with the IFL, which kind of took us all by surprise, to be honest with you, because
it was in the back of my mind. I was like.
It was expected. I expected it when they left the NAL. It's just I still can't believe it though.
Well, I don't know if expected is the correct. Well, at least for me, it wasn't expected. I was expecting Massachusetts to say we signed with the Northeast Arena Football League for midgets and truckers. I didn't expect it to actually be
I did, because they seem like a group that actually is a good group of owners and everything. So I don't think they were going to go for something they felt was below them in league. Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, for sure. And the team is good enough to be part of the IFL. It's just the location.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take a look at the IFL map, if you look at the IFL map.
This is the first time they have been. They've never been this far east. The last time they had a team on the Eastern Seaboard was in 2011 with the Richmond Revolution. So it's been a good while.
And we're not getting. Columbus till 2022, right? So there'll be a year.
Okay, I do want to clarify something up though. The IFL said in the press conference they are not done expanding for the year, and that East Coast teams are in their 3 to 5 year plan. What you could see them do is what they did when Arizona first joined the league, which is other teams chip in for the travel costs.
Well, okay, and that's fine if that happens, and that's the way that they want to do it, and everybody's on board with it, because I mean, and it works. But we're in August now. They announced Frisco in the middle of December last year to play for this year, and the season started in February because logic dictates that makes total sense. So there's a
welcome to the indoor and arena world, Michael.
Well, there's a good possibility and chance that we could see some East Coast teams, but I think it puts them at a distinct advantage to announce later. I think if I was an East Coast team right now looking for a league or wanting to get into the IFL, I'd be on the phone trying to make it work, saying, "Hey, look, you got Massachusetts. Let us be the bridge gap for a year." Because I feel like that once you join the IFL, you're going to get a higher quality player than you would if you were, in that New England or Northeast league that I mentioned earlier.
I don't even know if that league's happening.
Can we just get Syracuse? Can we get Syracuse? Is that okay?
But that's the thing, though. Where RJ said about finding ownership groups is the trouble in Maine, is the trouble in I forget what the other one was, Nashville. So we say, if I was a team, maybe there just isn't the ownership group out there right now to do it.
Well, I think that the ownership group would be a little bit different, though, when it comes to IFL compared to the NAL because of that entry-level fee is significantly smaller for, and it's a year-to-year base as well compared to a 3-year. But this would give ample opportunity for something like the Cape Fear Heroes. I know that they're probably dead, but I mean, something like that is what I'm getting at, RJ. Not necessarily them specifically.
A couple things about Cape, definitely Cape Fear will definitely not be, but I mean, if the Carolina, there really aren't any gaps. There's a big gap between IFL and NAL and everybody else right now.
Well, yeah, that's fine, but I'm just saying that if one of these teams wants to try to take a chance and an opportunity to step up in a level of competition, you might get your butt kicked for a year, but at least you're getting eyes put on a product, and all of a sudden now you're saying, okay, well look, they're in the IFL. If they hold tryouts next year and they're going to return, let's do this and let's see if they can improve. I mean,
you could maybe see the Carolina Thunder doing that. They were supposed to play in the AAL this year. They have new ownership, including Ted Gibb Jr., the former Panther. So, you could see them maybe saying, hey, we'll help you establish your East Coast presence.
Now where are they in where close to the Carolina Cobras?
Let's see. I know they play at Bojangles Coliseum. So
which is in which city?
I'm figuring that out right now.
You know the name of the arena, but not the city?
Sorry, I can only keep track of so many Carolina
That's some dedication right there. No, that's some dedication right there that you know the actual name of the arena.
But you don't know where they play. Well, okay. Well, even if that's the case, though, let's just say that they're a city apart. The IFL is seriously in a spot where you just put your first team on the East Coast. You need a gap because what's the closest one right now? Quad City, Iowa, maybe.
What about
It would be Quad City.
Quad City's in Illinois, right?
You're forgetting the one up in Wisconsin.
Green Bay,
well, you gotta think they're northern, so.
Yeah, I mean, technically they're further east. Hold on, let me look at this for a second. So the farthest east team would be Green Bay.
So Green Bay and then Quad City?
Then Quad City.
Right there?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's still a huge distance, though. I mean, that's...
In 2022, it will get a lot easier because you'll have, you might have, the Steamwheelers or the Blizzard go on a trip. They go to Quad City, then they go to Columbus, and then they go to Massachusetts.
Well, I imagine that, RJ, to counter that, or to highlight that, I imagine in 2021 when the schedule comes out, it's going to be, okay, if you play Massachusetts, you're going to probably play Quad City or Green Bay on the comeback.
Well, let's be honest though, Spokane's not that close to anybody else either, and they make it work with them. So, I mean, who's the closest to Spokane?
The closest to Spokane would be Oakland.
Oakland,
and then Bismarck,
because they're both on the West Coast. Bismarck.
We're talking about
Sioux City's right there, or Sioux Falls,
Oakland, California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know about Oakland would be talking
pretty far. Well, I didn't know that there was a Columbus, Georgia either. So in the IFL world, anywhere could be anywhere. It seems like.
Well, at the same time, though, Spokane hadn't played yet, so I'm assuming that they were probably going to do a lot of the same things and look for.
Right, that's what I mean. Though they seem like they're already kind of equipped for this type of scheduling. That's why they maybe didn't care.
And that may be very possibly the truth. They may just be like, okay, Massachusetts is there; they're going to be our staple team for the East, and hopefully some other teams follow.
They said in the press conference, the East was in our 3 to 5 year plan. When there's an organization like this wanting to join, why would we say no?
Well, and I don't fault them. If you want my honest opinion,
it was a surprise that they joined too, because they left the NAL pretty abruptly when
they did not leave. They were booted. I think that paints a different picture.
Unanimously. Didn't they not want to sign the 3-year deal?
Right, but it was booted at their own accord. It wasn't booted
that's
because
what I mean. It was one.
It wasn't booted because they
did something wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't booted because the NAL was like, we just don't want you here anymore. Bye. They were booted because of something that that Massachusetts didn't want to do. I mean, that's basically like leaving.
Yeah, we chose to not sign a 3-year deal, which is our choice to not want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't show up to work tomorrow, or if I didn't show up to work and then I got fired, I mean, it was my choice, and I pretty much quit. Like, it's not like that's basically what that was. I don't think they necessarily got booted out of the NAL, but Massachusetts makes sense. As far as like the quality of team is concerned with the IFL, it's perfect. But let me ask you this though: are they going to struggle with the play style differential? Because they don't really have a running back. I mean, their running back is a 6'4", 350-pound lineman. I mean,
I will say for the Pirates that it honestly, you can find a running back.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I mean, they have time now. They have time to find, and it's really just a couple players looking for.
But I'm just talking about the players. The play style as a whole change, though, not just.
It is a change in style, but you have seen teams transition from arena to indoor game and be dominant. Exhibit A, Arizona Rattlers. They came from the AFL to the IFL and won the championship their first year in the league.
Well, I mean, hopefully Massachusetts is successful, and hopefully it brings up some more Eastern teams. And who knows? The IFL's not done. Like I said, we saw expansion all the way into December. And there's going to be room for expansion. We'll talk about Arizona in a second, but let's talk about. It's a double-edged sword. It's sad for me, but at the same time, it's like this needs to happen with another team. The Cedar Rapids River Kings and the San Diego Strike Force are going to go dormant. Or at least the Strike Force are going dormant. And the River Kings look like that they're going to fold. Man. It's tough for me because I liked San Diego. I liked where they were going. I thought they were on the up and up. And to see them go, to sleep for a year, or at least that's the initial report, is that they're going to go dormant for a year and come back in 2022 and play.
What does dormant mean?
Dormant means they're going to hibernation like they're a grizzly bear, and they're going to come out hungry for food and eat fish.
Is this something normal for the indoor league?
So here's the thing. When you see teams go dormant, that's like 95% of the time that means we're dying a slow and painful death. We're currently in hospice. That's what happened to Maine. That's what happened to Lehigh Valley. You saw a lot of teams saying, we're going dormant for a year, and then they just quietly fade away.
Well, the difference, though, with this one, though, is it's an owner who still has another team at least not dormant.
That was the same thing that happened in Maine. The owners of Maine owned other teams in the NAL.
Okay.
I kind of feel like Cedar Rapids was pretty much going to be kind of it was eventually going to happen. I mean, let's be honest. At the end of last year, they were
basically pulling guys from wherever they could get them.
Basically, you, me, or Mark could have tried out, and we could have made the team for a couple games, and that would have been an absolute nightmare. I mean, I was in shape once, I mean, rounds of shape now, but I was in shape like once, but that was years ago. Man, I don't know.
Another issue of Cedar Rapids in that this has been like Cedar Rapids. If they were the only team in Iowa, you maybe could have seen them stay around for another year. But the Barnstormers are right there. They are way more successful, way more historic. Obligatory Kurt Warner reference here. You know, they have
every show.
Every time there's Iowa Barnstormers mentioned, it goes hand in hand.
Can we just get a grab it for that next week, Carrie? That'd be great.
The Iowa Barn Warners.
So, I mean, this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Did this person, for one, stretch themselves thin? Maybe in a normal year it would have been fine, but in a COVID year where he maybe isn't making money in whatever business he owns otherwise, or makes money off of the teams that he has in these leagues, is this why having 3 teams is not a great idea?
It
and
definitely
maybe should be a rule that you shouldn't be able to do this?
I think Roy Choi is the man of flame. He definitely came in ambitiously. He started with the 2 teams, Cedar Rapids and San Diego. Then he went to Oakland. I think if you're seeing Cedar Rapids falter, move some of those resources to help bring back San Diego and give Oakland a jolt for the next year, because Oakland is a city that loves its football. There's never been a question about that. I mean, have you seen the Black Hole? You feel like you were going to like a biker rally.
So my thing here is the only thing that might save San Diego, in my opinion, is the fact that, is it Roy or Ray Choi? I thought it was Ray Choi. Roy? Yeah. Roy Choi wants to be on the West Coast. He brought the team to Oakland. He had the team in San Diego after he bought Cedar Rapids. That's a huge travel discrepancy. It might be his best bet to put his resources into the 2 West Coast teams, since they're both located in California. Bring San Diego back, and then who knows? Maybe if IFL doesn't employ a 1-person ownership or a 2-team for one ownership,
or 2-team, one would one person cannot have majority ownership in 3 teams or something like that.
Just something along those lines. He could then possibly bring a 3rd team in if he's capable in the California area and help that West Coast presence, because we know that's what the IFL wants. They want to establish a West Coast and an East Coast presence. Choi is willing to bring a West Coast presence.
I'd be telling him he has to choose it somewhere in either Oregon or Washington.
Or that could be the other thing.
My rule for the just so Spokane gets something closer to them.
Absolutely.
Idaho.
That could be a possible thing for sure. Yep.
That's the only way you get a 3rd team. You can give them stipulations.
Montana.
Yeah, Montana. I mean,
up there.
Let me ask you this too, RJ, real quick, because you being more of an indoor and arena guy, as far as your knowledge is concerned, the IFL, if they were to implement a bylaw like that, saying you can't be majority owner in more than 2 teams with two teams, and you can't be a minority owner if you're a majority owner in 2. Could the IFL sustain that? Would that actually help that league gain credibility, or would that actually hurt them over the long run because they're not getting the money from one person who wants multiple teams? What would be the logical sense there, or what would be the logical thing to do if I was the IFL in that situation?
See, the IFL's over these past few years, after 2017 with the Project Franchise debacle, they've really tightened up their vetting of owners. And if you vet an owner enough to do with Roy Choi, and they have the money to put the teams down, and again, they have an extensive vetting process. If they're vetted and they have money, I say go for it. But I just wouldn't put those teams. I just wouldn't put those teams in linchpin locations.
But does this year prove that maybe that's not the best practice because you just don't know what's going to happen? Nobody saw a global pandemic coming that was going to shut down the entire world for
could this also be an anomaly, Mark?
Right, but what if it's not? I mean, but I'm not saying a global pandemic again, but you don't know, this guy's business otherwise. People lose their business all the time. and they vetted him, that's great, but that doesn't mean businesses just don't all of a sudden close down, and he stops losing it, and then we lose 3 teams. So in the long run, why not use this year as the, okay, so maybe it's not a great idea to have somebody have 3 teams spread out across their league. Because, yes, Oakland looks like it's staying, but what if he had said all 3 are going dormant? Then you now lose, you go from, what are they at, 16 to 13.
They were at, 15, I think, with Massachusetts and this other team coming in?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you lose 3, that puts them at 12.
You're hoping at the San Antonio team also. So that you're at 11 with the hopes of a San Antonio team who would still not there yet, which is quite odd at this point.
Well, it would be, because they were at 13 last year.
Yeah.
At the start of the season. So you take the 2 that were added with Massachusetts and this other team that we're going to discuss here next, and you take 3 away from that, that puts it at 12. So they'd be at 12 teams with expansion still on the horizon. But with Oakland still being there, that will put it at 13, assuming San Diego does come back in 2022 with Columbus.
But also remember, though, we now lose the Cedar Rapids team, which is in the middle of the country, which connects a lot of these other teams.
Not really. It's not as big of a loss geographically as you think it is.
Well, right, but at the same time, there's still a lot of the central teams there with the Iowa Barnstormers and the Quad City team.
But you still added Massachusetts. But remember, Massachusetts is way over there. I'm just saying, though,
of course.
It's not a great thing to have teams be going dormant, leaving constantly because you have owners who have too many teams. I mean, I don't know how many have 2 or 3, but I think at some point you got to say.
Besides Mr. Choi, the only other ownership group with 2 teams is the group that owns the Wild Dogs and the Fighters.
Yeah, the 2 new teams, Frisco and the Wild Dogs.
Yeah,
Columbus.
2 new teams.
Yeah.
So again, it's 2 hopeful new teams, but neither one have played yet.
So, all right. So let's say San Diego comes back in 2022 with Columbus. And that puts them. We'll probably put them. Let's say Cedar Rapids is gone, doesn't come back.
14.
Arizona.
Right now.
Huh?
14. I think that would make them.
I think it's 14 or 15. Right, it's still right around that side, but only because of the fact that Arizona, RJ, apparently on Tuesday, is getting a 3rd team. Which, why? Why not look at Nevada, or why not, you know what I mean? Like, why not look at maybe even Utah? Like, I don't get it.
Utah if Utah's best city would be Salt Lake City, and they kind of got burnt there in 2017 with Project Franchise, which, if you know what Project Franchise was a complete gimmick, and if you don't, I think XFL 2001 indoors. Gimmicks.
Okay, that's fine. They got burnt one time, but I mean, it doesn't. Don't go to Utah. Go to Carson City, Nevada.
Where would you play in Carson City? I looked. There's nowhere to play in Carson City.
I don't know. I don't know where there's a place to. I don't know the venues like you do, RJ. You literally stay up till 3 a.m. and
Reno. So technically, the Reno Express at the AWFC hasn't folded, but there is a second venue there. And let's face it, the IFL could kick AWFC attendance, but every day of the week.
I'm just more confused as to
why they're putting a team in Prescott Valley. I'm not quite positive.
Do we know who the owner is, or possibly who the owner is?
We just know it's not Kevin Guy. That's all we know at this point.
But it comes down to being local for them. That's the problem, though.
Hold on a second here. So, are they going to be the Prescott Valley? Is that what they're going to go with for the name? Is the Prescott Valley? They're not going to go. So you're telling me that there's a venue in Prescott Valley?
Yep.
But there's not a venue somewhere near Carson City or the outskirts of Carson City where they could possibly play?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
What? Okay, so how about somewhere else in Nevada? Not Reno. Forget Reno for a second, just because the Reno Express are technically there. Could they go to Las Vegas?
I mean, you could, but you could. There are a lot of venues there. You could play
at the outskirts of Las Vegas.
Oh, I mean, you could also play in Henderson, where they're going to put the Silver Knights for the Vegas hockey team's affiliate.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't play in Henderson. Henderson's an upscale community, and I don't think they'll allow that. It's not. Henderson is a suburb. It's nothing major. I lived in Las Vegas for 5 years. Henderson is nothing. Nothing.
There we go. Okay, so skip
Well,
Nevada.
there's that idea.
Skip Nevada.
But,
So
I mean,
you don't think Salt Lake City would be willing to?
No, see, I think IFL be willing. I don't know if local businesses got scorched. That's the thing we got to remember. If local businesses got hurt, they will be hesitant to return to the sport. That's why teams burning.
There is a team in New Mexico already.
Duke City.
Duke City.
Oh, Colorado?
Yeah, Colorado.
Again, another Colorado.
Denver.
Definitely.
Yeah, but everybody thinks of Denver. What about Pueblo?
Pueblo.
Well, here's the thing
Colorado
with Denver.
State.
Here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with Denver. I hate to say it, but Project Franchise strikes again.
Okay. All right. Moving on from the Project Franchise, whatever the hell it was. I know.
I'm sorry. It really hurt some cities. I'm sorry.
You said that was what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2017.
Okay, 3 years ago. People get over it, cities.
Pueblo would be viable. Why wouldn't Pueblo be a viable city?
I think it could be. I mean, listen, I'm not saying Colorado's completely out of the picture, but it's also not looking perfect for them either.
How about Oklahoma? Project Franchise?
Oklahoma.
No, actually, no. No, you could have them. You could have
Kansas,
them.
Nebraska,
Kansas,
Wyoming,
St. Louis.
No,
St. Louis.
St. Louis, maybe you could definitely. I could see a team there, Family Arena.
The Gateway Blue Jackets.
Ship all one up from the IDFL.
Missouri.
Yeah, somewhere in Missouri. Kansas, maybe not, because the CIF has teams in Wichita and Salina, so you don't want to saturate the market there.
Okay. Salina. I like Salina. I watched them play. CIF, though, man. If the CIF was gone, it'd be so much easier for the IFL. I don't want the CIF. I don't want the CIF to fold. I don't. That's not me saying it. I'm just saying that if they weren't there, it'd be easier for the IFL as far as teams are concerned. That's all.
Yeah, the two leagues, like
they hate each other. We know.
Yeah.
They hate each other.
It's like Tom and Jerry. Like once they see each other, it's just the clothes are off. Let's get going.
Is the third team in Arizona smart?
I don't like it personally, but they're the ones doing the demographic research and all that stuff that we're not doing. Because I
think we just did a pretty good job of covering the country.
Half of it covered half.
I'm personally just looking at this going, 3 teams in Arizona, you have 1 in California now.
Yeah, I mean, California, a place that I think would be great is San Jose. They had the SaberCats for the last.
They were successful too.
They really were. I know the trademark is still technically held by the original owners, so you have to go by a different name. But the SAP Center is still viable. They're even though it's host to the Sharks and Barracudas, you could definitely squeeze some dates in there. I mean, San Diego was going to play at Pachanga with the Strikers 2, the Seals, and probably, Tim McGraw coming for one more retirement tour.
So where is this new team going in Arizona, by the way?
Prescott Valley.
Or at least that's the
Prescott,
rumor.
Arizona.
Prescott Valley, Arizona, yeah.
So, I mean, that isn't that far from Vegas. Looking at, I don't know how actually far it is, but when you look at them in conjunction with each other, they're not crazy far.
Is it enough to draw Nevada people to go watch in Prescott Valley? Like, as far as IFL fans are concerned, like, is it enough to cause them to want to travel if it's a few hours out?
It's 4 hours. How far is Massachusetts to you?
About 3.
So would you travel to watch Massachusetts?
Oh, I'm definitely going to travel to watch Massachusetts for sure.
So there you go. When you think about what's around them, if they want to watch indoor game, that's a possibility. I mean, where are the other 2 Arizona teams?
Tucson, and the other one. So The Rattlers are based out of Phoenix.
Phoenix,
yeah, they're from Phoenix.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, Tucson is actually 3 hours from Prescott. Phoenix falls right in the middle of those two. So you're going to have three teams. Well, I mean, it does, but then you're also having three teams within 3 hours of each other.
Yeah, that's what I don't. I mean,
that's odd.
I mean, Arizona has such a huge following as it is now, and Tucson's been surprisingly successful. And I say surprisingly only because I wouldn't have expected them to be that successful considering they're that close to the Rattlers. But they've been fairly successful. Now, you brought up New Mexico, and Albuquerque's where Duke City is, right?
Yep.
What about Truth or Consequences? Is there anything in that area for New Mexico? I know it's their second largest city. You're the venue guy, RJ. You're the one who stays up till 4 a.m. studying venues.
Nope. I remember the last team in the IFL to give New Mexico a shot was the New Mexico Stars, I believe. And okay, I swear. Quick little side note: there are too many venues that are owned by Toyota. I swear.
Toyota Center.
I swear, like it got it's so ridiculous. There's a Wikipedia page dedicated to it.
There's the Toyota pavilion here on Montage Mountain that has constant stuff. So there's another Toyota.
I know there's one in Ontario, California, and they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Perfect. See, that's what I just figured out. There we go. Let's find out that. Yeah. Well, okay. We've discussed expansion. We know expansion's happening. We know all this. We know everything else. What's the possibility, RJ, that the IFL is going to play in
2021,
or any of these inter-arena leagues are going to play in 2021? I mean,
it really comes down to COVID. Indoor and arena leagues do not have the budget to play in empty arenas. Even if you do partial capacity, I don't think it. Even if you have the possibility of doing partial capacity, I don't think the money is there. I think they're going to need full capacity, especially at the smaller venues such as the ones in Frisco. So,
do they have any possibility of a bubble type of thing, or is that just no way?
I don't see it happening with indoor and arena ball. There aren't really venues. There hasn't been a venue built specifically for indoor or arena football team since the late 2000s, early 2010s, and that was an anomaly back then. So it's not going to happen, unfortunately. I want it to, and let's get a vaccine. Let's stay inside and wear our masks. But knowing America, let's put it this way: some of us take the "don't tread on me" thing a little too seriously.
They really do. That's the unfortunate part about all this.
Weed out the idiots.
That too. That too. Absolutely.
But then you just lose the entire Browns fan base.
Well, fingers crossed that the IFL and the NAL, they all decide to or at least we're able to have a 2021 season for sure. They should proceed forward. Honestly, I think that these guys could get away with doing something at a level kind of similar to what we're seeing right now. They can do it at technically, 25-30% capacity, because that's basically what these arenas generally are anyways, except for the Rattlers, who sell out constantly, for the most part, or at least appear to sell out constantly. Every other team tends to operate at a 25-30% capacity in general. So I think logically you could probably do it and come back.
I think for the larger arenas, definitely. For teams like Frisco, it will definitely put a dent in things.
Well, we'll see how it goes as far as that's concerned. Any other news out of the IFL or arena leagues, RJ, for us here?
Other than that, no, nothing else out of the indoor or arena leagues. I say that as if we haven't been talking about for the past 45 minutes.
One more thing before we go, as far as tonight is concerned with everything, RJ, if you had to pick a city or whatever that the IFL is going to announce after Prescott Valley, where do you think logically or likely that they would end up going next?
I think Oklahoma City would be a good spot for a team.
Okay, and Mark, same question, man. I want to pick your brain here with this because I know you and I are both still fairly new to this game. So
anywhere in
just wherever you think the IFL might possibly look at next, not your logical, not your preferred choice, where the IFL might look.
Preferred choice would be 30 minutes down the road. That'd be great. NAL or IFL, if you're listening, the Mohegan Sun Arena in Wilkes-Barre, that'd be great for indoor football. I mean, I would say those kind of midwestern states there, Louisiana, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska,
New Orleans,
they kind of, centralize everything for you a little bit as you start adding other places. Other than that, maybe like Oregon, just so that something is closer to Spokane.
Portland is one that I'm surprised hasn't happened yet.
It doesn't even have to be Portland. I mean, you could do Salem.
Olympia.
Well, that would be Washington.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was thinking Olympia, Oregon, and then it didn't sound right after that.
Eugene. Not right.
Eugene, that's the one I was thinking of. Eugene.
You have Bend, Oregon. These are places that at least would get Spokane a little bit closer to.
You could put something in Tri-Cities, Washington.
You could do Boise, Idaho.
Yep, you could put a team in Seattle and have them play where their WHL team plays, not where the Seattle Kraken will play.
Well, they have a team in Idaho. How come the Horsemen haven't joined? What's going on with that?
Because the Horsemen are indecisive, and I think they want to like bake their cake and eat it too.
So they're like every other indoor and arena league team out there.
They're more indecisive than most. I'll say that.
What about you, Michael? Where would you want a team?
I would stick to the East Coast, mainly because I think that you definitely need to bridge that gap. But for the IFL, I say DC. And I was surprised, but I think that I think
Michael, not your preferred one.
That's not my preferred. My preferred one would be Maine. But I would say DC though, just because I think there's success there. I think they have the opportunity and chance. There's a fan base. Baltimore's not there, and with the Lightning backing out, if I was the IFL, I would try to capitalize on that area as quickly as possible.
Yeah, just get the DMV fan base.
Right.
What about Annapolis?
So Annapolis, Maryland, is another place I thought of. I don't know if there's a place you can play there, but there might be.
There are a couple places you can play there roughly in the area. There was a team called the Maryland Maniacs back in 2010, 2011.
I like that name.
So I mean, yeah, that's a fantastic name. But I think that like the DC area might be a good spot. The DMV is general. Richmond. Virginia. You could do Northern Virginia, Arlington.
Richmond
area.
Is weird because
no one knows.
Richmond is weird because nobody can make up their damn mind if they're demolishing the Richmond Coliseum or not.
Well, but regardless, I mean, there's plenty of places in Virginia you could easily play there, and
you can play Norfolk. I think Norfolk would be a good spot.
Norfolk, Tennessee.
Tennessee, Nashville. I mean, Nashville was a spot that we discussed before.
But not even Nashville, like somewhere else in Tennessee, or like Kentucky, like.
Of course, Kentucky was. I mean, you already got Louisville there, so you're competing with the NAL already at that spot. But
competition is good. I don't know why we're all shying away from it.
No. Competition's very good, but you want to make sure that you want to try to get other areas too before you move into an area that
maybe Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Kentucky. That could
Lexington.
That could work. Lexington. They like their sports in Lexington, so. But no, I don't know. For me personally, I look at it and I look at DC. I look at what the Valor did. I think the Valor did draw well at the AFL level. I think the IFL is better suited to draw that fan base though, because they mimic a lot more of the outdoor game, and I think there's a good opportunity there. Because I mean, if you look at the Defenders and what they did at the XFL level, when you take that outdoor game and even if you put it inside, the IFL has an opportunity and chance to be able to capitalize on a strong fan base down there. And that's the reason why I think DC.
All right.
Personally.
All right, Harry.
How about you, Harry?
What about you?
You got Columbus. We know Columbus is already coming.
Harry,
you can't pick Columbus.
In Ohio. No, Ohio.
Where's the spot that you would pick,
Ann Arbor,
Harry,
Michigan.
or that you think?
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
All right.
Ann Arbor. You've got Ann Arbor. You've got Bay City. I don't know if there's a venue in Bay City, but Bay City's got there is a venue literally like 30 miles out of Bay City in oh God, I can't even think of the name of the town, but it's a minor major city, but they have a venue there that the WWE would play when they were on tour. They would hit that venue up in northern or it's in the thumb. So there's a thought there.
It's in the thumb.
Well, it is because Michigan looks like a hand. It would be up in the thumb where Bay City is.
We know.
Okay, yes.
Then, but I would say any place in Michigan would probably be good because they're a football state.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin also is good.
Indiana. And I know the logical thought would be Indianapolis, but I would think someplace more. There's Effingham, Evansville, Effingham. Those are two of the major cities within the state. Effingham's like it's a major trucker's point right there, but there is a major city around it. So, and then you have
what about like Bloomington?
Bloomington,
yeah. Their big arena is being occupied by like the Mid-City Marauders of the MPIF right now. Somehow they struck a deal there.
Well, the IFL's a bigger deal, I think.
Hey, they have a Columbus team. We could just add another Columbus team to this mix. Just have 3 of them. We don't even know where any of them play at.
Well, we have major Wildcats all over, and nobody knows where they play at. So.
Exactly.
All right, guys, I gotta wrap this up tonight, folks. But Sunday here, AFN Sports Talk Live for RJ Ciancio, Harry Bob, Mark Hawks. I'm Michael Washington Weeks. Guys, sorry for the abrupt leave. I gotta head out, but I'll catch you guys next Sunday for sure. Have a good night, guys.